Well, anyways, I'm going to just kind of dive into the book right now. I can't see the chat, which is driving me a little crazy. But I'm going to circle back to it once we get going. Um, so this book is actually the second edition of my first book. So this is the first book I wrote back in, I think originally it was like 2014. I wrote this book, and the problem with this book was I wrote it, assuming that the person already knows like basic SketchUp and layout, basics. So it was really kind of taking you from being a basic user to someone who could apply, you know, a step-by-step workflow to organize your model properly and get it into layout and have full control over how it looks. So with the second edition, what was really important to me was to include a very large beginner section. So I wanted this book to be something that anybody could pick up and know nothing about SketchUp, know nothing about 3D modeling even, and basically learn everything they need to know to not only model a project but document it in layout. So the book has, I would say, I think it's like the first 100 and I don't know, 180 something pages is all SketchUp basics. So, we go over the interface. Another big thing that I wanted to make sure in this book was that I included the Mac version of things as well. Now, most things in SketchUp, the Mac and PC version are identical. It's just that the materials and a couple other things are like radically different. So I wanted to make sure that I included the screenshots for the Mac version for those times where it really diverged. So that was really important to me. So we go over the. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. So go over the the interface, basic navigation using your 3-button mouse, kind of walking through really fundamental modeling. So it kind of starts out with like a kind of like a quick introduction to SketchUp to kind of get you modeling relatively quickly, and then it kind of backs up a little bit and will kind of reintroduce at a finer detail and really starts kind of going into like, well, what are you actually looking at when you create a box, a rectangle? Like, what are the faces, edges? Like, what are the fundamental entities that SketchUp uses to represent objects? And then going through all the selection methods, manipulating objects, the different drawing tools, organization, obviously very key. This book is completely up to date to SketchUp 2021, but it is backwards compatible to, probably the last 5 years. I mean, the biggest thing that's different is they changed layers to tags. So, fundamentally they're the same. It's just the name that's different. Let me see if I can get maybe the live chat just like on my phone. Okay, there we go. I'm syncing fine. Cool. Eduardo from Sunrise, Florida. Make an offer to buy both digital and physical book, please. Yeah, we I am going to go over all of that. Let me see if I can get down to the live. There we go. Cool. All right. So yeah, you can see here we have, it's really kind of the basic fundamentals of SketchUp, which is really important. A lot of people, they pick up SketchUp and it's like, it's really easy to get started, right? So you kind of dive into it, and I've seen so many models where people have like they're not paying attention to groups and components, they're not worried about the structure of the model, and inevitably they get to a point where things are sticking to other things and they don't know how to fix it, and it's just really frustrating for them because a lot of times it's actually easier to just start from scratch. So I felt it was important to really talk about the fundamental ideas of SketchUp. And it was the book is kind of, I tried to strike a balance between being just like a copy of the SketchUp reference website. Like, obviously I don't want it to be that, so trying to balance covering all of the features while at the same time just talking about what's important. So for instance, I don't go over every single drawing tool. I might talk about the how circles work, and then I don't really go over every single way the different arc tools work, things like that. So trying to kind of distill what information I'm talking about in the book. So the next part of the book, and we're gonna dive into this. So this is just the table of contents. So we're gonna kind of scroll through here and answer some questions. If you guys do have questions, I do have the chat here. I don't know why I can't see it on my dashboard up here, but let's see, pop out chat. Oh, there we go. Cool. How's my audio? Is it okay? Someone's saying it sounds small. All right, I'm gonna keep going here just to keep things rolling. And let me just get the chat back up here. Okay. Yeah, I think there's just like a little delay, so I apologize for that. So the next part of the book here is can you take 3D model and SketchUp for CNC? Yes, you can. Guys, if you have questions, throw them in the comments, because all right, I can see them now, and I will definitely answer them as we go. I actually do have a section in the book that briefly touches CNC. It doesn't go into depth, but there are some extensions that work really well with SketchUp that kind of does all your tool paths and sorting it onto sheets and things like that. I don't have too much experience with CNC personally, so I didn't really dive too much into that. But all right. So once we cover the modeling aspect, just the actual creating shapes, organizing them, and organizing the structure of the model, then I kind of separated all of the things like materials, using the paint bucket tool, the different style settings, which styles are obviously very important for setting up scenes and layout. All right, I'm gonna push the mic up just a little bit here. Check. I don't know. I'm in. Let me see here. I'll boost the gain just a little bit, just to see if that's a little bit better. Again, this is my first time doing a live stream, so I apologize. So someone ordered the book, downloaded. So by the way, if you do order the book, you can go to SketchUp2Layout.com. That'll forward you to the pre-order site. If you do pre-order the paperback, you will get this ebook as an instant download. Now, we actually had quite a fiasco on the launch day. My web server basically thought I was sending out a bunch of email spam to from my website. So my web host literally shut down my email server. So for about 45 minutes, customers were not receiving order confirmations. Now, I've been following up with a lot of people because I don't know exactly when that happened. Several people have emailed me asking for that. If you have already purchased and you have not received an order confirmation email, definitely shoot me an email, matt@mastersketchup.com, and I can have that triggered to send back over to you. So what's the ETA for the printed version? Now, so this is a pre-order promotion. My first two books, so this, I showed you my first book I wrote, SketchUp to Layout. I also have this book, SketchUp and Layout for Architecture, which I co-wrote with Nick Saunder. Now, if you're a more advanced SketchUp user, if you're an architect designing custom homes, this book, you know, if you already know the basics, like if you already know how to use SketchUp, you know how to use Layout, but you're looking for a workflow that you can apply to every project, that's what this book is. This is a step-by-step workflow going from site planning all the way to schematic design and construction documents. This is not the book we're talking about today, but you can check this out. This is sketchupbook.com, and this is going to be next for the update, because this was written in 2016, I believe. So this is due for an update. There's a couple of things that are kind of out of date. This was before they came out with the table tool in Layout. So I talk about kind of a different method to create schedules and things like that. But now we have the table tool, so that's a lot better. This was before section fill came out. So, you know, the workarounds for that were extracting line work and things like that. So it's actually a lot easier nowadays to follow this workflow using some of the newer features, but the fundamental workflow is the same. So this book is still very relevant. It's kind of part of the reason why I've held off with updating it, but this will be next on the list. All right, so yeah, so the book, so this is a pre-order for SketchUp to Layout 2nd edition. And so the first two books that I wrote, I used print on demand. They're self-published. I was in talks with a couple of publishers, but I decided to self-publish them. And I was using print on demand for the first two books. And with this third book, I decided to go with offset printing, which is like the old school traditional way of printing books. It's a beautiful, I mean, the quality, I mean, obviously I'm not going to be able to really show you that well, but the quality is a lot better, like the contrast of the colors and everything like that, because they use, it's really fascinating that the machines that they use to print. So this is the sample. This is literally the only one that exists on Earth right now. But with offset printing, you have to order in bulk. So that's the purpose of the pre-order, in order to help me figure out like what's my initial order quantity. And so we're looking at probably a month for printing, and then a month to have them shipped over here. So yeah, probably about 2 months. So like on Wednesday, when I close down the order for the pre-order, so I'm probably going to close it down on Wednesday and give it a few days to kind of just collect myself and like get caught up with customer emails. And then I'll open the pre-order up back again, but it's going to be at the regular price. So the regular price is $59 with free shipping to the US, and the pre-order promotion is $39 with free shipping to the US. Now, all right, let me just look at the comments here. Yeah, so this book is the biggest book I've written. This is 500 pages. So it's almost, well, it's 1 inch thick. It's quite a bit bigger than the first one. The first book was like 300 something 300 something pages. Now, I am getting I see a comment here. I knew this was going to come. International shipping. So We may have a little issue with international orders. So I am so we're accepting international orders, and our shopping cart may not be calculating the shipping correctly, unfortunately. So that's kind of a fiasco I'm currently dealing with, trying to figure that out. But if you do place your order and it ends up being that the shipping is incorrect, I'll give you the opportunity for a full refund if the shipping ends up being too much and you don't want to pay the difference. The other thing I am looking at is doing print on demand just for international orders, because the print on demand company that I use actually has separate locations. They have a location in the UK and a location in Australia. And so with that, for basically most of Europe, I can ship. It's still going to cost me a lot more per book, but I think that might be what I have to do. Um, so yeah, that's the other benefit of doing the offset. It's a lot cheaper per book, and I'm able to kind of bring my price lower to compete better with kind of the more professionally published books, which I wanted to be able to compete evenly with them and kind of have my book in more hands and stuff like that. So, um, all right. All right, so let's dive back into the book. So we went over the initial learning the basics, learning the materials, styles. We go into kind of these are kind of like, they don't really have a good category, but shadows, fog, annotations, section planes, and scenes. Now, scenes are super important for layout, and we go over kind of the nuts and bolts in this part, and then in the next section, preparing for layout, it kind of goes into specifically what you need to do to create really well controlled scenes for layout. Now, a lot of you probably know that layout now has quite a bit of control over how your model looks right inside of layout, but it's still not perfect. So I'm still in the boat that says I want to create scenes for all viewports that I'm creating in layout. I don't want to use the layout controls to configure the model. There's several reasons for that, which I go into in the book. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's there's like fog control is not fully. You don't have full control over how fog appears. You can't toggle object visibility from inside layout. You have to use tags to control visibility. Now, that's great for probably most times that you need control over stuff, but there's going to be those times where you want to just hide something directly and be able to save that and have that in your viewport. So I still definitely recommend using scenes exclusively for preparing preparing your model for layout. Matt, would this be the book for someone new to SketchUp? Yes, this book is the beginner's book to SketchUp and layout. I mentioned earlier that was the biggest change and why it's taken me years to complete this, because I added about 180 pages. Well, here it is, 189. This is kind of all of the beginner SketchUp stuff right here. The whole first third of the book is all about beginner stuff, and then we go into the basics of layout too, which we're about to look at. Up to what version layout does the book include? So this would be up to the 2021 version. So all of the new features that they've talked about. Now, I do talk about those new features. I'm not gonna just completely ignore that they exist. I still recommend using scenes, but we do cover. Actually, that's kind of the the first thing. I feel like we should kind of like dive in to like some of these pages. So let's skip ahead to advanced scenes for layout, which by the way, so this is the I forgot, I'm not looking at the screen. Sorry about that. So advanced scenes for layout. So this is kind of, this was kind of the big basis of the first edition, and it's carried over here in the second edition. 5 steps to create your scenes for layout. First is define your visible objects. So that's going to be by, hiding objects directly or toggling tag visibility. Then you set your foreground depth, which is optional. You can just, your foreground depth is already going to be defined just by the camera position. But, if you want to add a section, you can do that as well to kind of clip the model. I'm just looking at some people are saying the video quality is going down. Says I got a good connection here. So I don't know if maybe it's on your side. So foreground depth, background depth, you can actually, if you want to use multiple sections, you can throw a section on the other side and create like a sandwich. I also have a really cool method in here for creating a live section, which is movable. Let me see if I can find that. That's probably under advanced. That's probably over here somewhere. And then setting your camera perspective, which, parallel projection or perspective, and then finally setting your style. Those are the 5 steps. If you follow those 5 steps every time, you're going to have complete control over your model. Now, the way this book is organized, this is what I was just talking about, the 0 thickness section. It's really cool because you add a section plane and it will look like this. It'll actually just show where the section is cutting through the model. And it's kind of a workaround. It's a neat thing. I don't know. A lot of people on the SketchUp forum call it the Donnelly method. So if you like Google the Donnelly method or I don't know. I think Nick Sonder dubbed it that. But I do have a tutorial that you can find like right on my website that talks about this specifically. This is kind of a cool little workflow. But one thing I just want to point out real quick is, whenever I've identified a process that I'm trying to show you, you'll see this icon here, step by step, and it'll just go right through. And most times I try to look at it from someone who doesn't know anything about SketchUp, and I make sure to include all of the, all the menu navigation on how to do, whatever it is I'm teaching. And then you'll also notice here, I include the Mac window reference as well. So like I said, that was really important as well. Parallel projection, 2-point perspective. All right. Now I have, I sent out an email if you're on my email list and asked for some sample files for people to include in the book. So this is from Christopher Allen Krupp. Now you might notice the layout is a little strange for PDF. So this is actually formatted for the print version. So it is a little bit weird in how like some of the pages are laid out. They're kind of opposing. There might be a blank page here or there, but another thing with the formatting is all the images are captured in 4K. That way they print out, really nicely on paper. There's no pixelation or anything like that. I also include the tool icons, not every time, but kind of like, if it hasn't been mentioned yet or something like that, you'll see the tool icon as well as the keyboard shortcut key whenever a tool is mentioned. And then you can also see how, the different tools and like user interface names are in a a certain color to just help you identify that. All right. So let me jump back to the contents here. All right, so everything so far is really all about SketchUp. And then we jump into layout. Now this is all going to be showing you the basics of layout, how, different layout elements behave, how to interact, how to move, how to create, all of those things. And obviously we're going to be talking about viewports, which is how you bring a SketchUp model into layout, and controlling in layout. This was something that we mentioned a little bit earlier. So you can control your SketchUp model directly in layout. You can jump into model space. You have all of these different options here. Will I sell the book at the next base camp? That's a good idea. I've actually, what's funny? I was actually supposed to be at the, there was supposed to be a base camp in September, and I think my video is lagging or something. I don't know if it's my camera. So there was supposed to be a base camp in September, and I was going to teach the intro to layout class, and I actually had to back out of it months prior because my wife was pregnant with twins and she was going to be due like right around the time of base camp. So I actually backed out because of that. And then come to find out, several months later, they canceled it because of COVID. So I kind of lucked out there, by not missing anything. But I've always thought it would be cool for them to have like a little bookstore or something like that for, I think maybe my camera's getting hot. Maybe that's why I'm losing some frames. Yeah, I thought it'd be cool for them to have like a bookstore for like different SketchUp books and whatnot. But either way, maybe I should just bring some myself and sell them there. So yeah, there are a lot of things you can do right inside of layout. You can toggle tags right inside. Oh, see here, I did it again. I forgot to switch back to the screen. You can toggle tags right inside a layout. So I do go over all of that stuff. And looks like I need some bookmarks for the table of contents here. So viewports, adding dimensions, advanced dimensions. There's actually a lot of kind of not hidden, but just things you wouldn't realize you can do with dimensions and layout that I talk about here. Annotation, scrapbooks, printing. That's important to know how to print to scale, not only from layout but from SketchUp. Exporting, working with CAD. Then we get into the advanced techniques. So sandbox tools. This is for like working with terrain and things like that. I think I might just run through some of these pages directly. So what's the difference between SketchUp and layout in full BIM software like Revit and ArchiCAD? Well, the biggest, I'm just reading a comment here. If you guys have comments or questions, leave them, put them in the chat. I'm gonna, once I finish this kind of initial review, we'll just kind of jump to Q&A for 10 minutes or so, and hopefully I can answer your questions. So the difference between SketchUp and so when we're saying SketchUp, we're talking about SketchUp Pro. There's several different SketchUp products out there, but the biggest difference right off the bat is price. So SketchUp Pro is $299 a year subscription. They switched to a full subscription model about a year ago or so. And Revit, I don't even know how much does Revit cost. I don't even know, but it's like, I think it's like 3,000 or something like that. I can't remember. So first of all, it is the price. Second of all, it's kind of a different approach, compared to Revit. Revit is very family driven. It's very parametric. It's very um, purpose built for buildings. Um, I'm in the algorithm. That's good. Are you a subscriber? I wonder. If not, you know what to do. ArchiCAD is 4,000 per seat. Yeah, yeah. So that is a big part of it. But it's SketchUp is kind of a different animal because it's so open ended. It's a surface modeler. It's you decide what you want the objects to represent. It's not you're not clicking a wall tool or a floor tool or a roof tool. You are drawing faces and edges, and you decide what kind of meaning you bring to that. Um, so a lot of people are drawn to that flexibility. It does kind of remove a lot of technical hurdles for someone that wants to use SketchUp for architecture or anything. There's a ton of different types of people who use SketchUp. There's game designers. There's people use it for skateboard parks and set design in movies and plays, theater, all all sorts of things. Um, so, anyways, I hope that answered your question. Before COVID, we went from Max and AutoCAD to SketchUp. Works better for our workflow and cost. Now, I will talk about the BIM side of it specifically. Actually, we do. I think we go into. I think this is the section that talks about BIM a little bit, so I'll wait to go over that. So under advanced techniques, I just want to kind of run through just roughly what these are talking about. So the different sandbox tools for working with terrain, that's what it's kind of initially designed for, but you can use it for all sorts of organic modeling. You can import a site survey, a CAD site survey, and generate terrain from contour lines. Let me see if I can zoom in a little better here. Oh, extensions. Yeah, that's a great. That's like Bruce. That's like kind of the really obvious answer that I completely forgot. Thank you. Yeah, SketchUp has a whole ecosystem of developers who have created extensions. So, like I said, SketchUp doesn't have a wall tool or a roof tool or a floor tool, but if you want, you can get Plus Spec or Medic Wall extension, and it can automate the entire process of a fully framed wall. And Plus Spec is really advanced with the estimating features and that is much more of a BIM tool than just bare bones SketchUp, and it does come with an additional costs. So a lot of extensions are free, but there are some there are some paid ones. What do you ask from the surveyors so it works for import? It's really just a CAD file. You just import a CAD file. They just have to make sure that it's that the contour lines are elevated to a certain height. Now sometimes they'll go from sea level, and if your project is in the mountains, it'll be way above the model origin in SketchUp. So sometimes you can ask them to just set the origin at a certain maybe 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet or whatever, but it's just a CAD file. All right, then we go into intersect faces, showing some different ways to intersect geometry. And then solid tools kind of leads into solid tools, because this is kind of a more automated approach to have different solid groups interact with each other. Match photo. This allows you to take a photograph, and this is a native SketchUp feature. You take a photograph and you can import a model, or I should say, you can import the image into your model and then match the perspective of the camera to the photograph in order to kind of overlay your model over the image. Shop says unavailable to process order. We have had an issue where so like if you try to buy the book, it might say something like offer expired. Um, if that's the case, your order may have actually gone through. I can check if you don't have an email confirmation, just shoot me an email, and I can look up your order. So one thing I haven't announced is I'm actually going to be working on a complete video course to complement the book. And so if you do purchase the book, you'll see like a little secret offer afterwards, seeing if you want to pre-order the video course. Normally it's going to be $400, but because it's not completed yet and it's a pre-order, I'm giving you 50% off chance to get a pre-order on the video course and help me kickstart that. So I think we had a little glitch with the plugin that we were using for that on my website, so it was telling people that the offer expired. So just double check that. All right. What's my favorite extension? I said a long time ago that it was Profile Builder, and I think it still is. I think Profile Builder is still my favorite because it's an extension that kind of enables you to create. It's like an engine. It's not just like you click a button and it does one thing. It's like a whole. It just enables you to build such custom assemblies and extrusions and things like that. Although I have to say I'm very excited about the live component feature that SketchUp is coming out with. How to buy the book? Go to SketchUp to layout.com. It looks like this. You can watch my corny marketing video that I made, and we're doing a pre-order for just another 2 days. So the pre-order pricing will go away. I'm going to still I'm going to keep the ebook up for now at regular price, but I'm going to take the paperback down for at least a few days just to kind of get my bearings, and then that'll go back to regular price as well. Now I got to show you this. I'm really proud of the testimonials I got. This is Aaron from the SketchUp team. He works on the SketchUp team. You've probably seen him on the YouTube channel, the SketchUp YouTube channel. This is Nick Sonder. He is the co-author of SketchUp and Layout for Architecture, and he's the guy who this book is based off of. Alex Oliver, another great SketchUp teacher from SketchUp School. Justin Geis from the SketchUp Essentials, who has completely blown me away on YouTube. I don't know how he does it. I don't know where he gets the time to the amount of videos that he puts out. It's crazy. We have Eric Schimmelfennig from Faber. He's a good friend of mine as well. I've known him since I got started with my website, and he's a really cool SketchUp guy. He does a lot of like his expertise is in CNC, so I kind of picked his brain a little bit, and he actually developed this extension or service called Faber that I talked about a little bit earlier. So that kind of links SketchUp to CNC workflows. Daniel Tall, another SketchUp author, and also Mark Harrison. He's actually the product manager of SketchUp. So I'm really proud of these testimonials. Had to toot my own horn a little bit. Let's see, what other questions do we have here? Nick grew a beard. I think that's actually an old photo. I hope he doesn't get mad about that. Can you get the video discount after the book was purchased? I think I may. Okay. You know what? I think what I'll do, Nathan, now that you said that, I think what I'll do is I'll send out an email to everyone who purchased, just to kind of give like a one last opportunity. I'm just going to write a note here. Send email for video. So I'll send out an email to everyone who purchased, and I got to send out an email to just to make sure that just to kind of give everyone an update on things. If you want to buy it in India and don't have the dollar transactions, how to buy it? That's a good question. Does it not convert it automatically? I thought if you go to purchase it, it would like convert it to your currency. I'm not sure about that. Am I working with Nick on the new version of SketchUp and LayOut for architecture? Not yet, because I've been so busy working on this book that I have not reached out to him about that yet. So that is next on the agenda after the video course is completed. All right, let me see here. All right, if you're having trouble buying it in India, I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna have to look into that later because I'm not aware of that problem. And then finally, just to kind of wrap up the book contents, talking about advanced components like the 3D warehouse, live components, dynamic components, how to cut an opening in a wall. So like you can have a window that like automatically cuts an opening through the wall. A little bit about BIM. So SketchUp is kind of funny with when it comes to BIM. It's like I keep hoping that they do more with it, but you know, for now you do get IFC import and export. You do get attributes that will, you know, stay with the model as you import it and export it. And then there's the generate reports, which is built into SketchUp. But I wish they would do a little bit more with that. And then working with CAD, we talk a little bit about virtual reality, just because it's kind of something I'm really interested in. And just recognizing how fast it changes. I do have a link to my website to kind of get more up-to-date information about VR. Talk about peripherals, extensions. I give you a little bit of an introduction on like how to explore creating your own extensions. So this is something that I've done myself. I've created a custom beam tool that allows me to have like a library of beams, you know, with different header heights or different header thicknesses and different jack studs, king studs, and I can just click at the starting corner of the door and then the right side of the door, and then the beam just draws itself. So, you know, that's something I figured out how to do. I'm definitely not a professional developer, but you know, I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of a taste on some of the cool things you can do there to you know, maybe spark an interest. And that's basically it. So, if you guys have any other questions, I will answer a couple more questions in the chat, and then if you're interested in purchasing in getting the pre-order pricing, you can go to SketchUp to layout.com and pre-order the paperback. John, I've pre-ordered the printed copy as well as the ebook. Been scouring the ebook for the past few days. All I can say is wow, packed full of little tips and tricks half of us didn't know about. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I did. It was really hard. You know, it was kind of like a struggle to. I really wanted to focus on the beginner, but at the same time, I wanted to include those tips and tricks and like little advanced things. So I came up with like the little tip box So it was kind of like, if you start reading the tip, it would be, let me see if I can find an example. Well, that's not really an example. But yeah, I wanted to kind of have little areas that would show, my bookmarks aren't working all of a sudden, that would show like some advanced tips, um, for for just showing the advanced users some kind of advanced tips. So I'm glad to hear I'm glad to hear that, John. Thank you. How's the 3D mouse? Well, I actually have I can't show it to you because my cord's not long enough. I have the big enterprise one, which has all custom buttons. So I have, someone asked about the 3D mouse. This is the 3D connection. Maybe I can show the 3D connection. Let's see here. So this is like what I have here. The enterprise. I bought it with my own money. It wasn't like a sponsored thing or anything like that. It's really awesome. The problem I have with it is I'm not, if I was modeling for 8 hours a day every day, it would be extremely valuable because you would have your hand right on that mouse at all times. You'd have your right hand on your regular mouse and then your left hand on that mouse, and you would custom map. So you can actually custom map all these buttons to whatever you want. Now, my problem that I've had is I don't use it enough to where I can remember how I mapped out all the things. So I just use it for the actual navigation part, which is awesome. And you can just get like the little guy here, because this is expensive. It's like $400-500. This one I think is maybe 100, something like that. I actually have a 3D mouse review. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel. If you want to watch an ad on, what is this, dentures? I don't know. But yeah, if you just Google like 3D mouse review, you'll see my my review if you want to learn more about that. All right. Yeah, I do love it. I do use it, not actively all the time, but like if I need to take a break and I just want to like sit back for a second and like browse around my model, I love using the navigation of the 3D mouse. And the most important thing, if you get a 3D mouse, is you have to go, if it feels weird right out of the gate, like don't try to force it. Go into the settings and make sure you look at, I think it's like the advanced settings, and make sure you look at the different navigation modes. I personally like helicopter mode, but then there's also object mode, so definitely look at that. All right, enough with the 3D mice. How do you draw revision bubbles? It's not super advanced. It's just gonna be like, you can just use the shape tools in LayOut to draw a shape. Actually, they don't have a cloud line style, do they? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, revision cloud sorely needed. Do you use detail scrapbooks? Yeah, so Nick and I actually just released, another thing that you can check out. In the store is Nick Saunders detail scrapbooks. Now, so you can purchase these. This is like his entire library of details. So they basically have like these different vignettes of different wall assemblies and floor assemblies and roof assemblies, and they're just drag and drop. You can just drag them right into your layout file. All right. So I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Um, so again, if you want to order, we've got 2 days left for the pre-order. You can go to SketchUp to LayOut.com to pre-order the paperback, or if you just want to get the ebook, you can just buy the ebook as well. That's also on sale. So that being said, I just want to thank you guys for joining me here today, but also like just for supporting me over all these years. I've been doing this since I think I launched my website in like 2012, and wrote a couple books, and I'm just like self-published. Like I'm just a guy self-published with these books, and so it's really cool to get the emails of support from you guys, and you guys showing up here. I really appreciate it. So all right, I guess that's it. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have a great day. And if you have any questions about anything else, shoot me an email, matt@mastersketchup.com.